So how do you know what's real? I mean, really, truly real. We spend our whole lives trying to figure that out, right? Building these filters to separate what's genuine from illusion.
And for most things, that's pretty simple. It's sensory, is the ground solid, can I hold the contract in my hand, that sort of thing.
Exactly. But that creates a huge problem, doesn't it?
A massive one, especially when you start talking about these profound, eternal concepts, divine ideas. That gap between the big idea and the thing you can actually verify, that's where spiritual inquiry usually gets stuck. You're left with either pure theory or just blind faith.
But what if? What if the source material itself demanded more? What if it laid out this whole system that required both physical proof and a deliberate spiritual focus?
And that's exactly what we're looking at today.
Yeah, today's deep dive is all about divine perception and the living word. Our mission here is to pull out the three really distinct ways these sources tell you to interact with knowledge. There's physical confirmation, then practical application, and finally, spiritual focus.
And it sets up this incredible paradox for you right from the start.
It really does.
In one passage, it's insisting you have to physically touch and see the truth it's talking about. But then, almost immediately, it turns around and says, your ultimate goal is to ignore everything you can see. It's like it's designed to anchor you in reality while asking you to look way beyond it.
It's a total mental reset just to follow the instructions.
Yes.
This isn't abstract theory. It feels more like a manual for how to be certain.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. And we have to start with this almost shocking requirement for sensory proof. It's laid out so clearly.
It really is. The writer here was, you could say, obsessed with verification. And if you think about the context, it makes sense. If you're going to claim that some eternal divine word of life became a real historical thing,
right,
then that claim has to hold up under some serious scrutiny. They were pushing back against these early ideas that maybe it was just a ghost or a myth or some secondhand story.
It reads less like philosophy and more like, I don't know, legal statement.
Exactly. They're grounding it, in fact, not feeling.
And what I find so fascinating is how systematic it is.
In
just one verse. It's not just one or two senses. It's a whole progression that just eliminates doubt.
That's a great way to put it. It's like a ladder of confirmation. It starts with the most distant sense and builds to the most concrete. So it begins with that which we have heard.
Okay, so the spoken word, the initial report.
The starting point for any communication. But
well, we all know hearing can be unreliable. Like that telephone game we played as kids, the message gets warped so easily.
Precisely. Which is why the text immediately raises the stakes. It moves from just hearing to direct visual proof, which we have seen with our eyes.
So that takes it from hearsay to eyewitness testimony.
But even sight can be tricky. You see something from the corner of your eye, you misjudge something in the distance. So the author gets even more specific, adding a third level, which we have looked at.
So that's different from just seeing.
Very different. This implies sustained attention, scrutiny. It's the difference between, say, glancing at a spreadsheet and actually auditing it line by line.
That's a great distinction. It's like what a scientist does with data before they publish. But then it goes even further to the absolute peak of physical verification, the one thing that just erases all doubt.
Yes. The process ends with, and which our hands have touched. Touch is the ultimate barrier to illusion. You can imagine a sight, you can mishear something, but to physically touch it, to feel its substance, that's the final seal of certainty.
So you have hearing the report, seeing the event, studying the details, and then physically touching it. That four-step process is the foundation for everything that follows.
It is. And the verse concludes by saying, that is what gives them the authority to talk about the word of life. The subtext is, we're claiming this is eternal, but don't worry, we proved it physically first.
It's a concrete anchor.
Absolutely. The amount of effort they put into just validating the physical reality of it all suggests that nothing less would do.
Okay, so that's the gold standard for receiving and confirming knowledge. But this is where my brain hits a bit of a wall.
Go on.
If the knowledge is so perfectly proven, I've heard it, seen it, studied it, touched it, why isn't that enough? If I know the truth, why do I then need a whole separate manual on how to behave?
That is a fantastic question, and it really gets to the core difference between, say, knowledge and wisdom.
Okay.
Knowledge without application is, well, it's just theory. Imagine you have a perfect, scientifically proven manual on how to fly 747. You've seen the plane, you've touched the controls.
Right.
But until you actually put the steps into practice, that knowledge is functionally useless. You're not a pilot.
That makes perfect sense. So the material shifts focus. It goes from the historical fact to the present-day reality of living it out.
Exactly. And Philippians 4.9 is basically the instruction manual for making that shift. It's surprisingly thorough. It covers all the ways we take in information.
Yeah, walk us through that.
Okay, so it lists 4 ways we get this validated truth. First, whatever you have learned, this is, formal instruction. The classroom, reading a book, academic stuff.
Then it says what you have received, which feels different. It sounds more like tradition, something passed down to you.
Yes, less active study and more like inheriting a framework of belief from your family or your culture.
Okay. And third is what you have heard.
This is the casual stuff, a conversation, a piece of advice someone mentions, information you just sort of absorb without really scrutinizing it.
And the fourth one feels like the most powerful, whatever you have seen in me. That shifts everything. It's not an abstract idea anymore. It's modeling. It's seeing someone else actually live this stuff out successfully.
And what's so crucial here is that the text doesn't ask you to pick the best method. It doesn't say, figure out which of these 4 is the right one.
Right.
It says it doesn't matter if you learned it in a class, inherited it, heard it in passing, or saw it in a role model. All of those paths lead to one single, non-negotiable command.
Put it into practice.
Put it into practice.
That's such a powerful connection. It's not just asking for action, it's demanding integration. It's saying the knowledge is only really yours when it becomes a habit. It's like training for a marathon. You can read all the books, get your grandpa's best shoes, hear a friend say, just run more, or watch an expert runner.
But until you actually go out and put the miles in, none of it has made you a runner.
That's the perfect analogy. Practice is the engine that turns verified information into functional character. And there's a very specific outcome tied to it.
It's not promising fame or fortune.
No, nothing like that. It promises something much deeper, much more practical.
Which is?
And the God of peace will be with you.
Peace. We usually think of that as just an emotion, right? Not worrying about things.
We do, but in this context, connected to the hard work of practice, it seems to mean something more like functional harmony.
Functional harmony, I like that. Yeah, it suggests that when you align your actions with this verified truth, you get rid of that internal conflict, that chaos. The practice itself creates a kind of systemic coherence in your life.
So the peace isn't a reward for the work. It's the natural result of the work. The action itself brings the system into balance.
I think that's exactly right.
Okay, so we have the sensory anchor and we have the behavioral engine. Here's where it gets really interesting, because now we get this radical shift in focus. We've spent all this time establishing the absolute need to touch and see reality. But now, this third source just flips the whole script. It insists we look away from the very world that proved the truth to us.
And that's the genius of the whole framework, you see. The sensory proof was to validate the historical anchor. But once that anchor is set, the instruction shifts to the purpose of the anchor. The purpose is eternal. If you just stare at the anchor, you've missed the whole point of the journey.
The command is just so counterintuitive. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. I mean, why? Why are we told to deliberately look past visible reality?
The reason is right there in the text, and it's basically a calculation based on permanence. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's telling you where to invest your focus. The passage draws a hard line. Everything we can see, everything physical, is categorized as temporary.
And temporary covers a lot of ground. It's not just, a passing mood. It's your career, the political situation, the stock market, your health, all of it.
All of it. All of the things we spend most of our time worrying about, they're all subject to change, to decay. They're transient.
And on the other side,
what is unseen is defined as eternal.
Things like truth, character, core principles.
Exactly. Concepts that exist outside of physical time and space, things that last.
So the message isn't that the physical world is evil or bad. It's just an unreliable place to fix your ultimate attention. Because by its very definition, it's going to change. It's going to fade.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a filter for relevance. Why pour all your energy and focus into things that are guaranteed to disappear? The whole process is perfectly coherent when you see it together. The physical anchor validates the truth. The practical engine integrates the truth into your life. And the spiritual focus directs that integrated life toward its eternal purpose.
That's a beautiful way to synthesize it. You go from the tangible need to touch the word of life to the applied life of putting it all into practice, and then finally to the ultimate goal, focusing on the eternal. It shows that true certainty, at least in this system, isn't just one thing. It's this multi-layered, fully integrated approach.
You have to engage with it holistically. You confirm it with your senses, you internalize it with your actions, and you prioritize its goal by looking past all the temporary noise. If you miss one of those steps, the whole thing loses its ultimate meaning.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to mull over. We've laid out this framework where what is seen is temporary and what is unseen is eternal. That's a pretty radical filter for your daily life. So the question we want to leave you with is this. Knowing that almost everything screaming for your attention right now, your email inbox, the news alerts, your social media feed, is officially categorized as temporary. What one intentional, practical step could you take, maybe just this week, to deliberately fix your focus on a truth or a principle that these sources define as eternal?